So 2 months ago, I released Where's Garry, a horror game based on Garry's mod that you guys enjoyed way more than I expected. Ever since then, I've been working extremely hard on updates, and by that I mean I added one new level and the map maker, but today we're actually doing something big. We're adding 4 brand new secret bosses. Oh, and also basically fixing the entire game, because just like my life, the whole thing is complete and utter dog shit. For anyone new to the project, Where's Garry is basically a horror stealth game inspired by Garry's mod. You spawn into a map, usually based on some classic Gmod location, and your job is to run around fixing missing textures, error models and servers, while being hunted down by increasingly dangerous monsters. However, before we can even think about adding new content, there's something a lot less exciting we need to deal with first. Spaghetti code. Every enemy in the game has its own small brain, kind of like your mom, but smarter. Yeah. They can walk around, chase you, hear sounds, and even pull off special abilities if they have one. And this might all sound perfectly fine until you look behind the scenes. Because for some reason when I made the game, I created each enemy specifically with their own unique brain. And due to this mistake, whenever I change something in someone's code, I'll pretty much have to copy paste the addition onto everyone else and hope I didn't break something in the process. Which statistically speaking is most likely going to happen. So instead I rebuilt the whole system into one shared AI that most basic enemies use. Now they all run off the same brain and I can just tweak a few values to make them behave completely differently. So if I want like an enemy that always chases you no matter what, I can just crank up its speed, press a few buttons and boom, we have a brand new enemy. Get your bitch ass up, nerd. I also made them interact with the environment the same way the player does, because they're basically meant to be like fake players or something. Previously, they only really could have opened doors, but I wanted to take this a step further. Whenever you step on a pile of leaves, a bush, or trash, you make a sound. So now I made it so NPCs could do the same, which means they can also accidentally expose themselves too. Oh, and in one of the levels, you can find this car that goes back and forth, and if it happens to run you over, you'll get killed. However, while I was playing, I always thought it was a bit weird that enemies could just go through it without any interaction. So now, if an NPC happens to be in its way, they'll get stunned for a few seconds. I also went back through some of the maps and fixed the pathfinding a bit. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the thing that tells NPCs, hey, you can walk here, bruh. Turns out in some areas it was completely missing, so the enemies couldn't actually reach you and would instead just stare, which obviously destroys my reputation as a highly professional game developer, so I had to fix that. On top of that, I added a bunch of smaller improvements. There's now a retro style filter to better match the game's art style, and I reworked the old debug mode into an actual menu instead of a wall of text screaming at you when you open it.
Okay, jump scare.
But the biggest change out of all of this has to be the timer. Whenever the game begins, this timer will appear on top of the screen and will slowly count down until it's 0. No warning, no build up, just boom, you're dead. Which is pretty boring now that I look at it. I originally added it to push players to move through a level faster, but as it turns out, a lot of you guys really didn't like that.
I'm so fucking... You ran out of time, god damn it! Okay. Nah, this is kinda pissing me off.
So now, instead of dying instantly, the game enters something called overtime. Basically, every 25 seconds, your location gets revealed to every enemy on the map. Kind of like in Among Us hide and seek for like the 3 people still playing that. It's way more intense, way more fair, and honestly just more interesting overall.
It also makes the game easier since you can't die from it anymore. And I bet a lot of people will be happy about that.
Who the f*** are you?
Hi, I'm Drago Bob. I'm in this video too.
Another thing a lot of you asked for was an actual health system. Before, the health bar was just kind of there in order to imitate the UI from Half-Life 2, but it was pretty useless and didn't really do anything, which is how my mom would often describe me. So now if you get hit by something that isn't an enemy, you'll actually lose health. Also, very important feature, I added a little spinny star to the main menu for beating the game, but since we're adding secret bosses, I also added one for beating each one of those. Crap, I forgot that's the whole point of the video. Shit. Now, normally this is the part where I tell you to click off the video if you want to discover everything yourself, but I need my watch time, so I'm not gonna do that. Before we can even start designing our first boss, we need to figure out what the boss actually means in this game, because normally it's like a big health bar, multiple attack phases, dramatic music, the classic formula for a big baddie. But in here, this can't really work like that. Not only can you not attack at all, only run away, but you also must escape the level and not get caught by the enemy. I would define a boss as an NPC with an absurdly overpowered ability, which conveniently is not hard to imagine since I already have someone like this. Garry, the final enemy of the game. To give you a little perspective, he always knows where you are, meaning hiding is pretty much useless, but he can also just teleport and stop time. This is an example of what I would consider a boss in this game, so with that in mind I started thinking about what to base the first one we're adding today on, as most of the game's entities and levels are a reference to a piece of Gmod media. And while doomscrolling to YouTube like a responsible developer, I found this strange upload from classic GM videos, GM Graveyard Creepy Secret Room Tutorial. In it, the player explores a hidden puzzle inside the Gmod map GM Graveyard, a map that just so happens to already be in my game. They click a series of gravestones in a specific order, which opens a door, and then the video ends. Now, none of this actually exists in the real map. It was solely made for this video, which actually got pretty popular a few years back. But the idea was cool enough that I just stole it and recreated it in my game as a method to actually unlock the level in which the new enemy will appear. The only problem is, whereas Garry doesn't really have a standard interact button like most games, so I had to improvise. When you enter GM Graveyard after beating the entire game, as you're all alone, you might notice something a little off. There's a blood splatter hidden under a gravestone, and if you step on it, it will move somewhere else. After doing this all around the map, you'll unlock a level called Dungeon, which sounds pretty cool, except there isn't actually a map yet, nor the actual boss. So let's start with that. To design this guy, I went back to classic GM videos, this time referencing something from one of their unlisted videos, this weird burning guy. Now, it's pretty hard to tell what he even is due to the video quality, however, a lot of people say it's just a normal NPC with the wireframe material slapped on top. Oh, and also on fire. But personally, I always thought it looked like a skeleton. Like, you can see the ribs, the skinny frame, a true calcium-infused boner. So I took a skeleton model, specifically from Half-Life 1 because for some reason I just could not find the one from Garry's mod, and gave it this spinning flame around its body. But it looked a bit too basic, so I set its whole body on fire instead. I initially wanted to call him something badass like Echoing, but I found it a bit too hard to remember, so I named him the Wriath instead. Now the next problem is actually giving him a mechanic. I tried a bunch of ideas, like making him able to teleport around, giving him the ability to shoot flames at you, but they were either already present in another enemy, or just not very good. So instead, I took an idea from an enemy called the Igniter, which was suggested by the Master of Puppets on my Discord server. Join right now. One of his mechanics was that he could leave fire on the ground, kind of like a trap you could get burned by. And after a bit of coding, he can now send the ground ablaze, which you can get burned by when touching it. He will also get a short speed boost whenever you cause a noise or get damage, which makes him a lot more threatening. However, right now, whenever you get caught by him, nothing really happens, so let's make a jump scare for him. I actually had to do this twice because my first attempt looked really weird and awkward. Now it's much better. However, while testing, I realized I could get a bit more use out of his speed boost mechanic by adding a new threat specifically that causes noise. Enter the Phantom. Unlike pretty much everyone else, this guy doesn't try to kill you. Instead, he slowly floats around the map, making him pretty useless and stupid, which reminds me of myself, actually. But if you get too close, he will scream loudly, causing a loud noise and teleporting somewhere else after a few seconds. Now, this is actually another suggestion taken from my Discord server. You should fucking join. And combined with the Wriath, I think he works really well. So now that we have each puzzle piece, we need a table where we can actually place them on. We need a map, is what I'm saying. After some testing, decorating and polishing, the first secret level was officially complete. Well, technically this is the second because there already was one before this, but shut up, idiot. That was great. It only took like a week. This video is gonna take a while, huh? But before we continue, I've officially made it. I've joined the big leagues. Because today, I got my very first sponsor, Rat Farm. And no, it's not a scam nor some crappy VPN, but an actual game. Ever wanted to run your own farm, but instead of crops and cows, it was completely overrun with rats, well, you're in luck, because that's exactly what Rat Farm is all about. In this game, you build and manage your own farm by implanting cheddar, watering it, and harvesting it to feed your ever-hungry rodents. And once you start feeding them, that's when things get interesting. You can pick them up and smash them together to breed new rats, each one with their own weird traits. Some are fast, some are huge, and some are just weird. As your farm grows, you can sell your best rats for profit, expand your land, and buy all sorts of strange items from the town. You can even talk to the citizens to find out more about this world. Wait, what the fuck? If you're into simulation games with a weird twist and a bit of mystery thrown in, then Rat Farm is definitely worth checking out. I should also mention that I didn't make this game. I know it kinda looks like the art style of my games, but it's actually made by a whole team of developers. The only thing that I did make was the trailer, which is kinda cool. You should check it out, you know. You can play the demo on Steam right now using the link in the description, and if it looks like your kind of thing, then why not put it on your wishlist. Thanks again to Rat Farm for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back into well, whatever the hell I was doing. Another thing a ton, and I mean a ton of people wanted me to include in this game was a reference to the Interloper ARG. If you somehow don't know what that is, it's basically this creepy series of videos created by Anomade, centered around source games and this mysterious black man holding an umbrella who would just crash your game. Yeah. And it's probably one of the best modern day ARGs, so you should definitely check it out for yourself after this video though. Please don't leave. Now, the actual boss wasn't that hard to make. I'd already sketched out how it'd work a while back. Unlike other enemies, the Umbrella Man doesn't wander around the map. Instead, he stays somewhere outside the playable area and checks every few seconds if you've wandered into one of his trigger zones. And if you have, a bell rings, and he starts rushing forward at ever-increasing speeds. If he sees you, you're just dead. But if you manage to hide away from him, the cycle will then continue. The whole challenge of this section was actually building a map around this mechanic. I wanted to base it on the location where he first appeared in the Interloper series, which happens to be a portal test chamber. And I wanted to add a bunch of corridors, as running down one with him behind you would be pretty scary. But the problem with that is, if everything is open, then there's nowhere to hide, and if everything is covered, then there's no tension. So to counter this, I added these small mates and shafts scattered around the map, little crawl spaces you can hide into whenever the Umbrella Man decides it's your time. And after building the map and playing on it for a bit, it ended up being one of my favorites in this whole game. You're constantly questioning what you should do. Will you sprint across that open area to patch a few errors, or would you rather wait until it's completely safe to go? Let's see how people think about this.
I hate this. Never cook again.
Oh.
Add Skibbity Toilet next.
Now, the way you get access to this map in the first place is actually in the first stage of the game, as if you enter it after beating the game, you can find a graffiti of the Umbrella Man, similar to how the ARG started. All you have to do is get close to it and boom, you can now play it. Now, the next level is going to be a bit more tricky to develop. I wanted to base it on Nestor, a procedurally generated Garry's Mod map that's practically endless, filled with randomly stitched together hallways and rooms that go on forever. And I wanted to replicate this exact feature for this level as well. Well, kind of. Since the overall map will mainly consist of long hallways with random rooms, the method I came up with is relatively straightforward. The map is split into two sections, and each time you load in, the game randomly picks from 3 possible layouts per section. Then it does the same thing for each individual room as well, and on top of that, every error, prop, and even your starting spawn point are all randomly placed, meaning no two runs are identical. What? Did you actually think I would write an entire algorithm to generate levels for me? That will take actual work and effort, you idiot, and in this channel we don't do any of that. The level itself was actually the easy part, as the actual problem now is figuring out how the boss would work. The first thing that came into my mind was the G-Man Wario Apparition parody that apparently lies within Nestor or something. I thought it was a neat little piece of obscure Gmod trivia, so I decided to throw him in. The only issue was that I had absolutely no idea what this mechanic should be. My first thought was teleportation, but not like previous enemies. He warps around constantly, and when he catches you, he teleports you instead. In theory, it sounds interesting, but in practice, it was a complete disaster. Sometimes he teleported me outside the map entirely, and other times he just chain teleported me back to back with no counterplay. It was broken, annoying, it really wasn't fun at all. And then it hit me. What if it just wasn't there? At the start of the level, you're all alone. There's no one else besides you here, just the hallways, the errors, and the clock. Because once that timer hits 0, that's when the apparition spawns. The moment he appears, he teleports somewhere randomly on the map, quietly making his way towards you afterwards. And if he spots you, you're dead. To make this actually friendly, I gave you 70 seconds to patch all the errors present in the map, which sounds brutal, but there are only really 10, so if you focus and practice, it's more than doable. However, once you patch every error before the timer runs out, nothing really happens. You can just leave without any trouble. So to counter that, I added the administrator. An A-posing Combine elite who always knows exactly where you are and clips straight to walls to get to you. He's pretty easy to juke if you just keep moving though, but it's at least something.
Editing Billy here. I forgot to outline that he only spawns after patching each error. That's it. Bye.
I think compared to everything else, this is probably the weakest level I've added, but I guess it's unique enough to stand out from the rest. The way you unlock it is by entering the second stage, GM Big City, after beating the game. If you wonder, you can find a key that, once you pick up, you can use it on several doors to see if it fits. Once you find the correct door, you've unlocked infinite fun. Now, the next and final level of the game is probably my second favorite. Luigi and Nev on my Discord server both suggested a boss enemy called Barry. He's Gary's secret dead brother that's based on a Gmod creepypasta by the same name. I thought it would be a cool addition, so I added him into the game. I originally made him look like a grayed out citizen with a saw on his right arm, but he looked pretty weird next to his supposed brother, so I made him basically be an opposite to Garry. Now, Gary's ability in the game is to stop time. So to make Barry be a sort of opposite to him, he instead can skip forward in time, basically lunging at the player every once in a while. Initially, I somehow made him act exactly like Baldi from Baldi's Basics, but after giving him a few effects and tweaking some values a little, he now works like a charm. I said, he now works like a charm. Ouija's original suggestion post said that Barry's map would be a corrupted and grayed out GM construct, but that's boring. So I instead based it on some forgotten Gmod trivia, 9/10s. Basically an old and removed Garry's World map that was added back in 2005. I made a whole video about Gmod's history if you're interested, but basically we're adding this. And we're making it in black and white because it will look cool, okay? And after working on the map, polishing it and testing it, it was done. I even added a cutscene when you first join the map where Barry gives you a little insight in his character and how he works. Oh, and whenever you escape, this happens. The way you unlock this map is by joining the first level after beating the game. If you explore, you'll be able to find a bunch of weird dolls scattered around the map. If you pick them up, you can bring them into one of these 3 small circles. Do this for each doll and a portal will open up and you'll unlock 9/10s. And speaking of which, that's about it for this update. There are of course a bunch of other changes that I didn't mention in this video, but if you want to play this game for yourself, just look in the description. Also, sorry for not uploading for like 2 months, but you can probably tell why this took so long. If you guys like this weird experimental upload, let me know in the comments as I might do more in the future. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Bye.